Yeah, that's the roar that made him famous. He was a favorite character in the Star Wars series.
There is late word tonight of a major passing. Actor Peter Mayhew has died. Of course, he was the original actor behind the beloved Chewbacca in the Star Wars franchise. Peter Mayhew.
One of the most beloved characters in film history. Mayhew played the shaggy and lovable Chewbacca in several of the Star Wars films. In his prime, he stood at over 7 feet tall.
A letter posted to social media says he passed away a couple days ago with family by his side.
He played the character so loved in the Star Wars universe in the original trilogy, but he became associated with that role ever since. A hero, really, among true fans of the franchise.
Peter Mayhew was 74.
Hey, loyal Rebel Force Radio listeners. We were getting ready to put the show out for everyone to enjoy this week when we got the sudden and very sad news about the passing of Star Wars legend, icon, Peter Mayhew, the man behind the mask who gave life to one of the most iconic characters in all of cinema. Chewbacca, the mighty Wookiee. Peter passed away just a couple of days ago, but the release went out from the family today as we're recording this, right before we put out this week's episode of Rebel Force Radio. Now, we will have, of course, many opportunities to pay tribute to the man and the character that he brought to life for more than 40 years in the future. But tonight, I thought that we could just get together and just remember Peter for a few moments. So, Jim, I'm actually sitting on my back porch having a little cigar toast to Peter Mayhew. And you were the one, you were the one that told me about Harrison Ford's plane crash. You were the one that texted me about Carrie Fisher. And here again, you came with the news, texting me as I was driving home that you had heard that Peter Mayhew had passed away. And you were one of the first to hear it. It was something that, you told me before my phone started blowing up with some of the, mainstream news sources. So it seems like this went through fandom before it actually hit mainstream news.
Yes, absolutely. The news was made known to friends of Peter, and some of them reached out and informed me of the news just shortly before the family released their announcement with the terrible news. I'm just going to read a little bit of the family's announcement here. The family of Peter Mayhew, with deep love and sadness, regrets to share the news that Peter has passed away. He left us the evening of April 30th, 2019, with his family by his side in his North Texas home. Peter was the man behind the mask, yes, of Chewbacca in the original Star Wars trilogy, Episode 3 of the prequels, and the new trilogy. He fought his way back from being wheelchair-bound to stand tall and portray Chewbacca once more in Star Wars The Force Awakens. He also consulted on The Last Jedi in an attempt to teach his successor. He put his heart and soul into the role of Chewbacca, and it showed in every frame of the films, from his knock-kneed running, firing his bowcaster from the hip, his bright blue eyes, down to each subtle movement of his head and mouth. But to him, the Star Wars family meant so much more than just a role in a film. So, that does sum it up. Peter was a great ambassador for Star Wars fans. He was always there for you when you wanted to talk about Chewbacca or get to know the man behind the mask. And Peter actually was the first Star Wars celebrity I ever met in my life. It was the very first time I attended Wizard World Chicago in the mid-'90s. I'd never been to a pop culture convention or anything like that in my life. And I was just walking the show floor, and amongst the dealers sitting there at, a 6-foot table, just sitting there right in the middle of the show floor, was Peter Mayhew. And I just found myself attracted to him. I walked over, I shook his hand, I stared into his eyes, and I knew right away when I looked in those blue eyes that I was talking to the real deal. I was talking to Chewie. You could see it in his facial structure. You could see it in his eyes especially, and in the shape of his mouth too, which was, of course, that prosthetic mask that he wore, all the prosthetics within it were all custom fitted for him. So there is a lot of Peter actually in Chewbacca, and I definitely noticed the first time I met him. And then I was able to have the opportunity to sit down with him and talk to him behind microphones a number of times. And so since this news broke earlier today, on Thursday as we record this, I was able to dig up some old interviews. I went and pulled out the masters, and I reposted them on YouTube. So remember Peter Mayhew with us. Visit Rebel Force Radio on YouTube, and you'll see a few interviews there. I'm going to put them together in their own playlist, and I'll put it right at the top, called Remembering Peter Mayhew. So, yeah, I'm just I'm really sad by the news, quite honestly.
Yeah, I am as well. I'll tell you that my first experience with Peter was, of course, through you. And I'll be honest, I was absolutely scared to death. I had been podcasting and doing Star Wars podcasting for about a year, I think it was, maybe a little over a year. And we've had the opportunity to first hook up, and I think it was at Celebration. It may have been Celebration 5, or it could have been that C2E2 right before Celebration 5. May even been one of the Dallas conventions, actually. They all sort of run together after all these years. But what I remember was we would go past Peter's table, and you would start to ask about an interview, and he would just hold his gigantic hand up and be like, nope. And then we'd walk away, and you'd be like, yeah, I've interviewed Peter before, but he could, sometimes, I think he's a little distrustful of media people or something like that. And so, of course, this buildup, I was like, oh my gosh, this guy, he's like 8 feet tall, and he's, very intimidating. Then you would see him with little kids, and he was just the most gentle, to be cliche about it, the gentlest of giants. And I want to say it was maybe the next convention or the next show where he finally agreed he was gonna let us talk to him. And he was, of course, as sweet and nice and as you could hope, and his ability to recall moments on the set. I've always been so fascinated with the whole carbon freezing chamber moment in Empire Strikes Back. Since I was a little kid, I had a chance to ask him about that, and he was, of course, talking about how hot it was on the set, with all the steam, and he was in the costume, but and it was great. And then when the news came that they were going to put Chewie in the Clone Wars, Dave Filoni made sure that they flew Peter Mayhew out to LA and did a lot of work with the animators. He worked with the animators to make sure that they really captured the essence of Chewie. And my Bailey and I, we've been watching a lot of Clone Wars lately, and we watched that episode. What was the name of the Hunt? It was the two-parter where Ahsoka gets picked up by the Trandoshans, and anyway, it was fantastic, yeah. and it brought Chewie to life in such an authentic way for an animated series. And then after that, he was going to come back and do The Force Awakens. And, that memo, or the release that was put out by the family, a lot of people forget that Peter really did, to the best of his ability, overcome some of the chronic illness that he had long enough to do some of those shots, standing without support and help. He walked with a cane. A lot of times he was wheelchair bound, but he wanted to be in that film and stand next to Harrison Ford again. And it's incredible. I'm so thrilled for him and the fans that he was able to do that movie. Yes. And then to have such a great relationship with his successor, Jonas. And you can tell that Jonas just adored Peter, and that the two of them really, really got along well. And, Jonas has that humility, and he realizes that he's literally standing on the shoulders of a giant in doing the role. And I'm really happy for the way his career went there in the end for him, to be back in a major Hollywood blockbuster once more, and then get to kind of ride off into the sunset, having sort of bestowed all of his knowledge and understanding of that character to a worthy successor. So I'm very sad that Peter Mayhew is no longer with us. I can't imagine a convention without Peter Mayhew. You know, I mean, he's just such a fixture at these things. And I think some people probably took it for granted. You know, it's like Stan Lee. You know, Stan Lee was always at these conventions, and you don't realize, you know, someday, you know, you're not going to have Stan Lee and you're not going to have Peter Mayhew. So it's going to be, I think, for that family of Star Wars actors that sort of travel a lot and go to a lot of different conventions, it's going to be a massive loss for them.
True. George Lucas issued a statement. Peter was a wonderful man. He was the closest any human being could be to a Wookiee. Big heart, gentle nature, and I learned to always let him win. He was a good friend, and I'm saddened by his passing. George Lucas. And Harrison Ford had this to say in a statement. Peter Mayhew was a kind and gentle man, possessed of great dignity and noble character. These aspects of his own personality, plus his wit and grace, he brought to Chewbacca. We were partners in film and friends in life for over 30 years, and I loved him. He invested his soul in the character and brought great pleasure to the Star Wars audience. Chewbacca was an important part of the success of the films we made together. He knew how important the fans of the franchise were to its continued success, and he was devoted to them. I and millions of others will never forget Peter and what he gave us all. My thoughts are with his dear wife, Angie, and his children. Rest easy, my dear friend. That's very sweet.
That really is, you know, for a guy that's not known, you know, to be all that cuddly, you know, Harrison Ford. But I did hear a story, and I don't know if it's true, and I'm not here to spread rumors, but I believe it's true, that the initial offer to Peter Mayhew to do The Force Awakens in terms of the salary was pretty paltry. And when I heard what it was, if this is true, I would consider it an insult, frankly. And it was Harrison Ford that demanded that they double what they had offered him.
Good.
And that, I think that sort of speaks to the way Harrison felt about Peter Mayhew. You know, don't take this guy for granted. He's not a prop. You know, he's a real actor that gives life to the character. The King of Cool, Billy D. Williams, took to Instagram and said, "Much more than Chewie to me, my heart hurts. I will miss you, my dear friend. Thanks for the great memories." Also, J.J. Abrams with his trademark, you know, those cards that he has from the desk of J.J. Abrams.
Right.
You know, J.J. doesn't want to be stifled by character limits, so he just takes photos of his notes. He says, Peter was the loveliest man, kind and patient, supportive and encouraging, a sweetheart to work with, and already deeply missed. JJ. Jonas, I don't know if you got to see Jonas's tribute.
No.
Jonas says, devastated to hear about the passing of a dear friend and mentor, the great Peter Mayhew. Peter's warm welcome when I came aboard as his double in The Force Awakens meant so much to me. Studying the character he helped create was always a daunting task, but one that was made easier by his tutelage and kindness as we sought to bring Chewbacca to life for a new generation. He was an absolutely one-of-a-kind gentleman and a legend of unrivaled class, and I will miss him. As the entire Star Wars universe grieves over this terrible loss, my thoughts and prayers are with his wife Angie and his family and all of the fans whose lives he has impacted. Rest assured his legacy will live on, and the spirit that he gave the character when he first donned the suit will never be forgotten.
Very nice. Did you see Mark Hamill had this to say? He was the gentlest of giants, a big man with an even bigger heart, who never failed to make me smile, and a loyal friend who I love dearly. I'm grateful for the memories we shared, and I'm a better man for just having known him. Thanks, Pete. That's from Mark Hamill.
Pete.
Pete, yeah. Thanks.
When
Pete.
you're Luke Skywalker, you can call Peter Mayhew Pete.
Right.
Yeah, and we were talking earlier, and your history with Peter Mayhew goes back a long time, and you're absolutely right. I used in my Instagram post the man behind the mask because he always will be, for me, the man behind the mask. My first awareness that actors from Star Wars were making themselves available was when Peter went on that tour.
Yes.
The Men Behind the Masks.
Yeah.
I wasn't really a much of a convention guy. I'd hit a couple of Star Trek conventions, but Star Trek was always very synonymous with conventions. I mean, they kind of created the whole thing. Growing up, I didn't hear of Star Wars or Star Wars actors being at conventions, but I knew about that tour. Mm-hmm. I believe it was Jeremy Bulloch, Peter Mayhew, and I'm missing the third. Oh, Dave Prowse. How could I forget? Dave Prowse is Darth Vader. Mm-hmm. And if I remember right, Jim, when they were touring through Chicago, didn't they come on Wendy's show on the radio?
Yes, they did. Remember when we were at Reggie's doing our live show there, and Wendy came up and talked to us, she had mentioned she had Peter and Jeremy Bulloch in the studio in the mid-'90s when they were on the road with the Men Behind the Masks convention tour.
And, of course, Chewbacca, there was a lot of that going on.
There was.
But now, Peter, that wasn't you doing that, was it?
No, it was animal noises.
Like a bear that just recently died a few years ago, I think.
Yeah, it was down in San Diego Zoo, and it died 3 years ago.
It doesn't sound like a bear to me, though.
No, but it's been put, other noises have been incorporated in with it. Mm-hmm. So you've got a growl and a short growl and then another growl. It's done so quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't. You can hear that. You can hear the original bear noise because when a bear gets angry, it's a deep note, and when it's happy, it's a high note. Mm-hmm. Like any animal, dogs, beavers, bears, you name it, it's there.
And so I did find the cassette of that in my basement, and I made that rare little slice of Star Wars and Chicago radio history available to our all-access members of RFR on Patreon. So that's up there if you want to hear that old interview with Wendy and Bill talking to Jeremy Bulloch and Peter Mayhew. I think they did sort of a game show, sort of quiz with them.
I remember. I think you played that for me at one point, and it gets real funny. It gets real funny with the two of them. Jeremy Bulloch, who's still with us, thank goodness, but is retired from doing conventions. And, this is something that, we as Star Wars fans, as we're all in our 40s now or older, and these actors are getting up in years. This is something, unfortunately, that is probably going to be happening, obviously, over the next couple decades as we lose these folks. There is a part of me, of course, the cynic that says, "Oh, geez, another one gone, and another missed opportunity." I don't want to be pouring salt in that wound, but it does. I can't help. I'm just being honest here. That was one of the first things that I thought of, just like after Carrie Fisher passed away. But you know what? The fact that we did get, I want to be grateful for what we have. We'll always have the Chewie we're home moment, and that I'll always be grateful for. That still gets me in the feels, as they say, and so it was really, really wonderful.
Very true.
I would say that when you think about, and it was Harrison Ford that mentioned it. I don't know of many actors from Star Wars or any franchise really that has been that big of an ambassador to the fans. And people talk about the ambassador of the fans, but Peter was doing the conventions and making appearances before it was the thing to do. He was I think a real trendsetter, a trailblazer in that respect. And people probably looked to guys like Peter and Jeremy and Dave Prowse and said, "Hey, they're doing it. I should do that too.
Absolutely.
And so I kind of credit him for, all the opportunities that we've had to meet a lot of these people.
Yeah, absolutely. He did trail. He was a trailblazer when it came to that kind of thing, and I'm grateful for it. Like I said, I'll always remember that first time I met him there on the convention floor, and it was, nowadays there's autograph halls and these big long lines you have to go through, and security and all this stuff. Back then, this was just Peter sitting at a folding table there, right in the middle of the place. And he wasn't the only one; there were a few others out there, but he was the one I saw and the one I was able to shake his hand and just express, my gratitude for everything he had done to entertain me as a film goer and a huge Star Wars fan, and he was very gracious about it. And then I fast forward to 2016, December. Jason, you and I were in Hollywood for the Rogue One world premiere.
Yes.
And I recall standing at a bar right next to the venue, right next to the theater, where a bunch of guys from Skywalker Sound were hanging out there. And I felt somebody grab my wrist. I turned around and I looked, and I didn't see him. And I looked down, it was Peter. He was in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
And he was getting pushed through, and he saw me there, and he just grabbed my wrist. I said, "Oh, my God, Peter." And I bent over, and I hugged the guy. I hugged him.
Oh, you got a Wookiee hug, a real Wookiee hug, man.
I hugged him, and it was just, I was like blown away that he was taking the moment he was just getting pushed by. It wasn't like he was like, "Yeah, take me to see Jimmy Mack." It was just like, he's like, there's that knucklehead who stuck the microphone in my face all these years, and he just grabbed my wrist. I was shocked. And so I did. I gave him a hug, and I'm so grateful that I had that last moment with him at that event. And so that was I'll always cherish that moment.
Well, and his heart was as big as the rest of him. He was just a constant cheerleader and fundraiser for all kinds of charities. I think about little Leia, the little girl that captured a lot of hearts, and he was very, very instrumental in raising the funds for her, and very, very active in Make-A-Wish and in all of that. He just really, really had a heart of gold. And you see these tributes, and you just never heard anything bad about the guy. You really never heard anything even remotely bad. Everybody just, "Oh, Peter, what a nice man, what a kind man."
Well, like you mentioned, that one time I approached him, he didn't want to talk or anything. I think that was before I actually was able to break through and get that first interview with him, because it was something I had been trying to do over the course of a number of years, is get an interview with Peter. The first time I asked him was at Star Wars Celebration 3 in Indianapolis in 2002. And so I was riding this cold streak for the longest time. Jason, it wasn't until Star Wars Celebration Japan, and I asked Peter at that event very early on, "Peter, please, come on." He said, No. He would always fold his arms in front of his chest and shake his head. No. And come on, please. I'm like, I came all the way to Japan just to talk to you. I said that to everyone in Japan, too, by the way.
Right.
But Peter was standoffish, and then he saw me sitting down with Mark Hamill, and then that changed everything. If I was able to sit down with Mark Hamill, then it would be acceptable then for me to sit down with Peter. So,
yeah.
So as I was, after Mark had, I had walked Mark to the stage and wrapped up the interview as we were walking. And that's when I think Peter spotted me. And so I kept the interview going right till I walked Mark right to the steps of the stage, and he went out there to introduce him, and I was walking back. And then that's when one of the volunteers in the autograph hall came and got me. And all they said was, "Peter will talk to you now." Like, that's great. Finally. So that's the first time I sat down.
Because after that, he was always very gracious anytime we were at a show and wanted to talk to him.
After that, he was extremely nice and friendly and accommodating to me anytime I saw him, be it in Chicago or in his home state of Texas. You know, he became an American citizen and, moved to Texas and never thought twice about it and fit right in because, his size in Texas. But he would joke with him.
Big in Texas.
Yeah. He fit right in there. They loved him. Yeah. I have this picture of him that I'm looking at that I took in 2009. 10 years ago. He looks pretty tough and robust in this one, man.
Well, I love the one you have of him wearing the hat. He looks like he's slashed. Don't you have a photo of Peter
up in my room?
Devil horns. Yeah, up in the Star Wars room with a hat on. He looks like he should be playing guitar for Guns N' Roses. I swear you do. Don't you?
I got a
it's
cool
like it's
picture
black
of him.
and white.
I got a cool picture of him that I took a long time ago, and he's wearing his Chewie ring, and he's holding it toward the camera.
Yes,
and I sort of tilted.
He's not wearing a hat, is he? No.
I sort of tilted the thing, and
yes.
I've actually been looking for the file on that, but I lost this
and the ring
drive.
Is coming towards the lens, right?
Yeah.
It's a perspective shot. Yeah, that you took that?
I took that. Yeah.
Oh man,
he loved it.
That's really cool. That's a great photo. I thought that was something you bought.
No, I took it, and then I took it to him and had him sign it. And he goes, "Where'd you get this?" And I go, "I took it." He goes, "You took it? You got more?" And so I'm like, "Yeah, I'll come back tomorrow." And I brought him like a stack of them. He loved it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I thought that was something you bought at a convention.
There's a story behind that one.
He looks like a rock star.
There is a story behind that one. So he was always a great guy, and I'm happy you and me have been able to get together tonight to pay tribute to him. I think we're going to wrap this up with a little highlight montage of some of these interviews here we got on the RFR YouTube channel. And then the regular RFR will be coming on Saturday this week. Fingers crossed. But no, we do have a whole show, lots to talk about on RFR this week. So we just wanted to throw out something special because Peter Mayhew meant a lot to us, and we know he meant a lot to everyone listening to this show.
He sure did. So before we go into some of those interview highlights, we'll just have a moment of silence here for the great Peter Mayhew.
Rebel Force Radio.
Star Wars, nothing but Star Wars.
Your source for the Force.
Guess who just got 4 tickets to the Origins of Chewbacca Star Wars exhibit? Is the original Chewbacca going to be there? Peter Mayhew, in the fur.
All right, we're here at Star Wars Celebration Japan with Chewbacca himself, Peter Mayhew. How's it going, Peter?
Very nicely. We're having a great time here.
In most places in the world where you go, you probably garner a lot of attention just due to your height alone.
Just being there. You always have someone at an airport that is going to either recognize you or going to make some comment about your height.
Of course.
Because you stand out. But I've been dealing with this for a long, long time.
Of course.
And you're just there, and it's part of being who you are.
Right. And, you stand out in a crowd not only because of your height, but because your hair is so long. Is that a look you've cultivated to sort of say, hey, I am Chewbacca the Wookiee?
Well, when you get not branded, but recognized for doing something by the creator, and George has said that there's nobody could do this, so you might as well try and create a look that is part of it. And, it's just that I suppose when I was growing up, I didn't have the opportunity to grow long hair. Consequently, it's a reversal.
Yeah. Oh,
it's almost a revolt. Not quite, but It's almost a revolt to
Still rebellious after all these years.
Well, that's what Wookiees are.
Right, exactly. And you own that role of Chewbacca. When Chewbacca walks, I see Peter Mayhew's walk.
Yep.
And there's so much personality you gave to a character who didn't speak a lick of English.
True. Didn't speak
at all, just barked. But there's so much personality that you put into Chewie.
That is entirely... Hopefully, I have made the character easy enough for people to relate to.
Oh, absolutely.
They look at the Chewie character. They think, yes, we know what he's talking about, and they just go on down the road. It's not a complicated character. It's a mime that is being done as part of a movie.
Yeah, and he's one of the most beloved film characters of all time.
He's a teddy bear.
And that must make you very proud.
I love it. I think I've got the best job in the world.
Oh, yeah.
At the moment, we're having a real good time being around, doing things for Lucasfilm, doing things for Star Wars.
Yes.
And it just makes me happy to see the reaction from all the other people.
Speaking of Star Wars fans, you've been on the convention circuit for quite a while now.
Yeah.
How have Star Wars fans changed over the years?
They've got wiser.
Yeah.
Because now it's three generations, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And the young ones have been taught to learn the Star Wars code. Code's probably the wrong word, but the rules of Star Wars is that it's myth, it's part fairy story, but there is, if you want to take it that far, there is some rules of living.
Yeah.
It all depends how your parents who bring you up were into the Star Wars situation.
What are the life lessons someone could get from Star Wars?
Honesty.
Yeah.
Honesty, belief, and knowing that evil doesn't always triumph over good.
And the motivation to reach your potential.
Yeah. Just to enjoy being good as well as... I'm not saying that you can't be adventurous, but you can still be good.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the moral stories.
As we celebrate 30 years of Star Wars in Japan, let's go back to the beginning.
Yep.
What were you doing when you first heard about Star Wars?
I was working in a hospital.
What were you doing there?
Orderly's job.
Yeah,
and
moving the gurney around, things like that?
Moving patients from here to there.
Yeah.
And the opportunity came along for Star Wars. Went up for an audition, got it, and the rest is history.
So you did audition for Chewie. Now, did Lucasfilm find you, or did you find them?
They found me through another movie.
What was that?
Which was Sinbad and the Outer Tiger.
Yes.
And from there onwards, we did it. That was a continuation of the sort of history of Peter Mayhew's acting career.
Did you and Harrison Ford bond on the set, or was he just kind of into his own thing?
Just look at the movie.
Yeah.
There has got to be a bond.
Yes.
Because otherwise, Chewie and Han do not have the... There is a bond there.
Yeah.
And think about it. We spend a lot of time together.
Yes.
So, and it shows.
Yes.
It shows from the first movie even down to the last one.
The on-screen chemistry was definitely palpable.
It was there, and it definitely happened.
You also played Chewbacca a few times outside of the films.
Yep.
Examples being the holiday special, The Muppet Show, and the MTV Movie Awards. Which was your favorite Chewie moment outside of the film?
Probably the MTV Award, definitely.
That was an honor.
So, yes, the MTV Award people came up and said, "We're honouring Chewie, we need you." I said, "Yes, when would you like me?" And the medal that was not put around my neck originally,
right?
The MTV people got carried down, She put the medal around my neck, and it's all recorded.
Yeah.
For posterity.
Yeah, right. I think you can find clips on YouTube.
Yeah. YouTube and various other stations.
So Star Wars fans listening to this, be sure to check out Peter getting his big moment, getting the medal, which you deserved. Are you aware that someone created their own version of Star Wars, a very talented special effects guy, took the DVDs and he added his own stuff to it, and he put the medal around your neck at the end. It's called Star Wars Revisited.
Yeah, and I've heard of the website.
Yeah, it looks really cool. It looks really cool.
Great.
How thrilled were you to return to Star Wars after all these years with Revenge of the Sith?
Fabulous. It was one of those opportunities that was there, and not knowing about it, it came straight out the blue. It was a very pleasant surprise. It was beautiful. It really was. It was lovely after all this time to just be able to go back and return to the set as part of, as an experienced guy that knew what was going on in the story.
And you did know what was going on. Did you find it that you were in the position where you were teaching your fellow Wookiees like Michael Klima how to be a Wookiee?
We never actually, we never shot the Wookiee battle. It was done second unit. Consequently means that they film it over and over again, and they keep it and store it and use it as and when they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
The stuff that Mike Keemer and I did was great because I taught him, being the older man, the old man of the pair. He did all the running around and did all the setups and stuff. It was cool.
Did you find you had to work out and get into a kind of shape to teach you? No, just jumped right back into it?
Just right back into it.
And what was different about the costume?
We had a cooling system in it. Simple water, tubing, and an ice box.
Yeah.
Pumped it around, kept us cool. Everything was great.
Make a big difference?
Yes, it made it more comfortable.
Yeah.
Rather than stripping off every 10 minutes or whatever it was. So, we did it, and it was comfortable.
Good. And how was George's demeanor changed on the set over the years?
There's no difference.
No, he's the same guy,
There is no difference. He's still the same great guy that he always has been.
Those who work with him always remark about his consistency. He's a very consistent dude, isn't he?
Yeah. He's a very technical dude, too.
Oh, yeah, obviously.
But here's the guy that is technical guy rather than a physical director.
And it's been mentioned a lot of times that he really doesn't give too much direction.
He explains what he wants to do. He lets people do it. And if you can come up with an idea, put it up to him, and you may get away with it on set.
Speaking of the technicalities of Star Wars, what do you think about working in front of a blue screen?
No problem. I have no problems whatsoever. Because a lot of the Sinbad stuff was blue screen anyway. You learn how to do it, and you use your imagination.
Yeah, I'll bet.
For positions of things and stuff like this. Mm-hmm. So, you're there. Oh, as I say.
Well, most fans would love to see more of Chewbacca's adventures, and with the upcoming Star Wars live-action TV show, maybe the opportunity will be there. Have you been privy to any of the rumors or talk about that show?
No, there's nothing. I know nothing about it, and until it comes around, that is the way I'm going to keep it.
Now, a few years ago, you became an American citizen.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Yep.
You're out in Texas.
Yep.
Only fitting. Texans like things big.
Sure.
So, they must have welcomed you with open arms.
Oh, it was wonderful.
And really you moved there because of your wife, Angie, correct?
Yep.
How did you two meet?
At a show.
Yeah, she's a Star Wars fan.
Yeah, she's a Star Wars dealer.
Oh, she is?
She was until we hitched up. Then Then she got the prize that everybody wanted.
She got the real action figure.
She got the real action figures. So now we travel around together and do shows and stuff.
Right, you guys are pretty much inseparable. I always see you together, and I often see Angie with the Star Wars novel, just giving her fandom even more cred,
right.
you know, which is so cool.
You can't talk to her sometimes if she's got a new Star Wars novel out.
Right.
And she buries her head in it, and sometimes it takes a little time to get into it, because I know, over the years, when it's a good thing, when it's exciting, or when the home team's not doing so well,
right? Yeah,
and stuff like this.
You hear it from her.
Oh yeah, and that way I keep up with all the developments.
Yes.
So I don't have to read it.
Right.
I can talk to her and say, what's this and this and this. So when we're doing Q&A, if someone comes up with, in such and such a book, it was so-and-so. Oh, yeah, that was so-and-so, wasn't it? Blah, blah, blah. And it's all stacked in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's all in my brain.
And then, of course, a few years ago, there was the novel Vector Prime, where Chewbacca met his death. And I asked Angie about it, and she said she got a little choked up when she read it. I'm like, it hits a little too close to home.
Well, I learned that, fortunately, the books do not control the movies.
Yes, George has said the same thing. He's gone on the record saying that.
He said the books are the books, the movies are the movies, and the twain will never meet. So, all right. Chewie's gone in the books, but he's still on screen.
Yeah.
He's still going to be there.
He'll always be there.
Yeah.
He'll always be there. What do you like to do in your spare time?
Sleep.
yeah, I'd like that too. We share the same hobby.
We're traveling practically every weekend that we're away. So when we do have a chance to relax over a weekend or a couple of days, it's the dogs and the cats and all the animals at home that keep us sane. If you've got a dog and a cat, there is nothing more soothing to have a dog nuzzle up to you or a cat sit in your lap. You're trusted by them, and they love you for who you are, not what's going on.
So you're an animal lover?
Oh, yeah.
And what kind of dog do you have?
We got a Rhodesian Ridgeback.
What are their names?
That's Oscar, and we also have a little Jack Russell Terrier whose name is Alice.
Alice? His name is...
Alice.
Why is his name Alice?
Her name? I don't know.
Oh, her name. I thought you said his name is Alice.
No, her name.
Alice.
We found her in a storm and adopted her.
Yeah?
So, and she got the name of Alice.
Oh.
God knows why, but that was it.
Star Wars has grown in popularity over the last 30-plus years. It shows no sign of slowing down.
True.
Why do you think it has such appeal?
It's generational now.
Yeah, it sure
and
is.
That you try and stop something that's been around for 20, 30 years. Even if it stopped today, think about it. The conventions would still go on because most of the actors or most of the main casts are still alive and still available.
Yes.
So, it's got an appeal of its own, and therefore it will go on for a number of years.
Oh, I believe you.
A long time. Longer than I will be involved in it.
Yeah. It's like the Wizard of Oz,
It
just
carries on,
generation after generation.
Yeah.
What are you most proud about when it comes to your contributions to Star Wars?
Doing something that nobody else can do.
Yeah. No, that's the truth. And we mentioned that before. Yeah. From his walk to the way Chewie kind of turns his head a little bit. Yeah. I've seen other actors portray Chewie for Lucasfilm promotional events and whatnot. Have you seen the Chewbacca that plays the drums?
Yeah.
Have you seen that guy?
Yeah.
I mean, talk about not canon, Chewbacca playing the drums.
True.
But if there was an instrument Chewie would play, I would imagine it would be the drums.
No, it's guitar.
It's guitar? He would play guitar?
Definitely.
Okay.
Mind you, it would be about 8 feet long.
Yeah. Okay, it would have to be a big axe. What kind of music do you like to listen to?
All sorts. Yeah. I grew up in the Beatles, so anything from late 60s up to the 80s. And forget the modern stuff. Because having been around for a number of years, the same music comes around.
You betcha.
I like the old stuff.
Yeah,
I really do.
Me too. I'm a classic rock kind of guy.
Yeah.
Beatles, Stones. Do you like Led Zeppelin?
Yes.
Yeah, I love Zeppelin.
In the right frame of mood.
Oh yeah, okay.
You've got to be in the right frame of mood for any music.
Would Chewbacca, if he was a guitar player, would he play heavy metal? Or maybe
probably,
blues, maybe some Wookiee blues.
You never know.
That would be
It
cool.
all depends on how he feels and what he's doing.
You know what? Chewbacca the Wookiee, if you want to play guitar, he can play any song he wants.
Yep.
If you could play any other character in Star Wars, who would it be and why?
I don't know. That's a good question. Possible, I suppose Harrison would be a good choice.
Yeah.
Han
Solo,
or a human psychic to him would be wonderful. Because I can't see any of the other characters being that big.
Yeah, right.
I don't.
Whoops.
I don't fancy Jabba. Leave it there.
Okay.
I don't fancy Jabbas, or the little Ewoks. Forget it. They're just not at all.
You would be king of the Ewoks.
Yeah, exactly.
I would love to see that, quite honestly.
True.
Which of the Star Wars films is your favorite?
Empire.
And why?
Strikes Back. Mere fact that the character was able to grow in that particular movie.
Yes.
He went from a minor character to one of the major five.
Yes, absolutely.
And there you go. That's part of it.
I have something that I want to relate to you. When I went to see the premiere of the Empire Strikes Back Special Edition, I sat next to Roger Ebert, who fell asleep during the first half of the film.
Yeah.
So I was really curious to see what his review would be like. Now, obviously, it's a film he had seen before, but this was a special edition. So he went back to some of his old notes, and he said he wasn't going to really change much, but one thing that he didn't care for in Empire Strikes Back was Chewbacca's howling throughout the whole thing, and I thought that was the stupidest thing anyone could ever say about Chewbacca.
He must have gone asleep while Chewie was doing his thing on the screen, because he does howl, but it's usually an appropriate howl to get him out of problems or alert other people that things are going on around him.
Well, I can guarantee you people listening to this show agree with you and not Roger Ebert, for sure.
Exactly. I don't agree with most critics.
Yeah, right.
Because I've got my own opinions.
Right.
And everybody's got their own opinions. And I think some of these critics are highly overrated.
Absolutely. And I'll just tell you, if you ever do stumble across that review and you see that, Jimmy Mack sat next to Roger Ebert, and that guy was sleeping. He had his head on my shoulders practically. That was in 97.
And I bet you wrote these reviews for him, too.
Well, if I wrote the review, I certainly wouldn't be saying any criticism to Chewbacca. Yeah. I want to keep my arms in the socket. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
What is your opinion of the prequel trilogy as a whole?
It's a totally different concept. The original trilogy was great. This one, the new one, is for kids.
Yeah, okay.
It's for a younger version.
It does appeal to a younger sensibility
to the
sometimes.
Younger version.
Yes.
So, and yet they both join up pretty good. They join up well, and they just, everybody has their own particular thing about it. But as I say, you can watch any of the first three and any of the last three, or all of them together, and it still makes a story.
Yeah.
Okay.
It flows.
Yeah.
If you could do it all over again, and I think I know the answer to this question, would you be in Star Wars knowing what you know now?
Of course.
Yes.
Of course. Yep.
Yes. It's been a home run with you, hasn't it?
Well, I've enjoyed it. And it's totally changed what things, my lifestyle.
Yeah. And as fans, we're lucky to have events like this and people like you who are still spreading the word out there, being great Star Wars ambassadors for all the fans who come to see you.
Well,
your line, I've been watching, your line has been constantly filled the whole time. People love to come up and meet you and say, hey, I met you. I shook Chewie's hand.
Chewie's hand. Wherever we go in the convention area, we're not high headliners, but we're not last. We're dead straight in the middle. We keep the lines going. we keep the fans happy.
Yeah, well, you created an iconic character that people love.
Yeah.
Like I said, you brought the personality to Chewbacca.
And
if you didn't, it would have been a mop, essentially.
And the more you see of this, the more you realize what that particular character can do.
Yeah, and you probably feel a certain responsibility too because of that.
Yes, the more you're around that particular character, the greater the response you feel for it. So you keep your attitude right. Let's put it this way: not everybody has a perfect day every day.
Yeah, right.
So if I'm a bit off, it's usually that I'm tired or we've just travelled a long way.
Right.
And the fans can be pushy.
Well, everyone.
It's two sides to it. If someone pushes me, I will push back.
Yeah. Oh, but I would listen. Who is going to make that mistake? It's not going to be me.
True.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you push back, I'll probably fly through the wall. So.
Yeah.
Well, Peter, congratulations on your long-running success with Star Wars. Like I said, we're so lucky to have you out here on the circuit where we can go and meet you. Yeah. You created an iconic character and one that will endure forever. And I'm so happy to be able to have the time to finally talk to you. I've been wanting to talk to you for years. Good. And just enjoy the rest of your stay in Japan.
We will do.
Thank you so much for talking to us. You're the best, man.
It's been wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Every celebration, I've got one pet hate about signing things, and especially the little Pez dispensers, which are that big. You've got hands that big. You have problems. But fortunately, I've developed a technique where I put Chewie on one foot and Peter Mayhew on the other, and most people are pretty happy with that. So that was my first nightmare when someone came out and said, "I want this signed." I went, "Oh dear."
Chewbacca is the Wookiee. I related to him as if he were a special kind of dog.
The Wookiee actually came from my dog, Indiana, who is a big Malamute.
Chewie, gravy train. Chewie, gravy train. Hey, Chewie, hey, boy, come here. I got a Wookiee cookie for you.
Hey, it's Chewbacca, Peter Mayhew. How's it going, Chewie?
Okay, I think we're having a great time here.
I like how I call you Chewie.
I would.
I identify you with Chewbacca so much. Last time I saw you was in Japan.
Yeah.
And we were riding the shuttle from the hotel back to the airport.
Oh, God, yes.
You were sitting up toward the front.
Yep.
I was in the back of the bus. And with your stature, your size, and your hair, seeing you only from the back, I really felt like Chewbacca was co-piloting us back to the airport.
Do you want to know the truth? He was.
Yeah. I felt like a few times we were going into hyperspace for sure.
They didn't give me a map, so I couldn't find out where the actual airport was. I had to go by GPS navigation system.
Yeah.
So,
Did they have a GPS on the Falcon?
Of course, we had all sorts of stuff on the Falcon.
Yeah. Now, if Han and Chewie are going on a long journey together, are they listening to music in the cockpit maybe?
We have all sorts of things in the cockpit. We got videos, we got DVDs, we've got everything in there, even an old-fashioned headset that is there. Yeah, the Falcon is fully equipped for intergalactic travel.
Now, I'm looking at these photos. You got a great spread of photos here on the table here at Star Wars Fan Days. There's this one particular shot of Chewie. It looks like he's really grinning right there. Were you able to smile with all that prosthetics all over your face?
Yeah. Well, there's the proof.
Yeah.
At the time, you didn't really have any idea of what was going on, but it was done. You were doing it. And there is a finished product.
Yeah,
It's good.
So you can really show a lot of facial expression with all that stuff on, huh?
Yeah.
It came through.
And it's not only one movie. We've done 4 out of the 6.
Well, of course.
And he is a different character. He's the same character, but he shows a lot of protection, call it what you want.
Mm-hmm.
He looks after everybody. Therefore, he's got to have emotions as well as good and bad points.
And the thing that really makes Chewie is the blue eyes, which I'm looking at right now. I mean, it's Chewbacca.
Well, that's partially what got me the job.
Yeah.
Chewie's blue eyes, brown hair,
Mhm.
done characters built in.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. There's Angie. It was her birthday. Come here, Angie. I want to say happy birthday to you.
Thank you very much.
Angie Mayhew, a proud member of the 501st, honorary friend, that is.
Absolutely. Our family and just some of the greatest people on the face of the planet.
Now, what I love about you, Angie, is you're a hardcore Star Wars fan, aren't you?
I have been all of my life, yes. I have pictures of the Katie and Cheryl in their cribs watching Star Wars, and that was a really long time ago.
And pressing the rewind buttons.
And pressing the rewind buttons, that's right.
And how long have you two been married?
About 10 years.
Yep.
Wow. Amazing. And you read all the Star Wars novels, don't you?
I confess. Yeah, it's maybe a terrible thing to say, but I do believe I've read them all, yeah.
What I don't know, Angie knows, and she tells me.
Right, so it obviously comes in very handy. You guys can use those book purchases as tax write-offs, probably.
True.
You know?
Yep.
Do you have any book review? Do you have a book review you want to give us right now? Something you've read recently you think is good? Something you think is bad?
I really enjoyed the books about the clone troopers. Was it Order 66?
By Karen Traviss, yeah.
Yeah, Karen Traviss. I actually thought that fleshed out the characters of the clone troopers better than anything I could have. I was really amazed, because she brings you right up to the turning point and shows you how terribly betrayed our troopers were and what really, really good guys they are. So really, I really like that a lot, yeah.
Okay, so that gets the Angie Mayhew seal of approval, Star Wars book. Now, did you ever think you would settle down with a big Star Wars fan?
Nope. Mm-hmm. I had no idea what I was going to do. I knew that maybe something would come along, but I had no idea that we'd be involved in this, in the Star Wars fantasy world. And suddenly, there it is. And it's something that has a niche and is easy to get into and that you feel comfortable with, because all the fans are so nice.
Yes.
And even the other actors are brilliant. There's all, there. Over a period of time, you build up friendships and relationships with them, and you just take it, and it's part of being the sci-fi icon that some people think we are. No, but we're normal people. Under all the makeup and stuff, everybody is normal people doing a relatively normal job.
Yeah, when you get together for things like Star Wars Fan Days or Star Wars Celebration,
definitely.
It's like a family reunion, right?
Yeah, it's wonderful. You walk in here, and you meet people. You see the guys that you probably haven't seen for a year. You ask them what they're doing, how's the family. As you say, it's a family day, and thank goodness people put stuff on like this for the regular fans.
Right, and it's the fans that keep it going, but it's also, guys like you who've been involved from the beginning,
Well, yeah, because it's part of our, you either do it and enjoy it, or you do it, or you don't do it, and you walk away.
Right.
But we have, we've stuck it out, and it's not been hard. We've just said, okay, these are our people, and this is what we're going to do.
Right. Which is cool, because in 1983, after Return of the Jedi was released, came and went, I mean,
that was it for you, right? You didn't really think about Star Wars very much after that, did you?
Well, yes, you do, because you never know what else is going to come out. With the commercials and stuff like this for telephones and God knows what else. So you get involved. Anything in costume is you're usually involved with.
Now, you bring up doing a commercial. I think it was Verizon. Was it Verizon that had Chewbacca in a recording studio?
Yep.
And it was like a guy who was sort of like Simon from American Idol.
That's right.
Kind of critiquing.
Yep.
And that was you?
That was me.
Wow.
And we had a blast doing it.
Yeah.
Because the other actors that we were working with were just great people, you know.
Was that the last time you put on the Chewbacca suit?
Yeah.
That was it, huh?
Well, with the exception of Episode 3.
All right. Well, Peter, it's always great to see you. And I hope that you just have continued success with Star Wars, and the fans are in love with you. They love seeing you at events like this. And to me, it's not a real Star Wars event unless Peter Mayhew is there. So.
Let's put it this way. There is enough Star Wars stuff coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And if you talk to the right people, you'll, with the animation series, coming up, it's there and you enjoy it.
Thank you, Peter.
Pleasure.
Take care. Always great to see you.
Rebel Force Radio.
You think you have a hard time going through airport security? Try being Chewbacca.
Right? Right.
The actor who plays him, Peter Mayhew, he's like 7 feet tall.
He's a really tall man, but apparently he has issues getting around.
Yeah, right.
And so he needs this walking cane. And it's cute. I mean, it's shaped like a lightsaber. He takes it to him to these Comic Cons. That's where he was coming back from, was the Denver Comic Con. And the TSA agents at the Denver airport weren't going to let him through with it. They thought it was a real lightsaber? I mean, seriously?
Whoa. It seems like some of these TSA agents are taking their job way too serious, just like the bouncer at the club,
Yeah. I think the TSA agents just wanted to play with a cool lightsaber.
Laugh it up, fuzzball.
All right, we're with everyone's favorite Wookiee, the mighty Chewbacca, Peter Mayhew. How are you, Peter?
I'm having a great day.
I see you're growing a beard.
Well, it's one of those things. I haven't shaved, and Angie don't mind it, so...
she's the boss, though,
She's
right?
boss, yeah. So, yeah.
Well, it adds more to your Chewbacca appeal.
I think it looks... I like it. She's fine, but it probably won't stay for very long, but, one day I'll get fed up with it, and it'll come off.
You were really funny in last year's Bring Back Star Wars with Justin Lee Collins.
Yes.
Now, did he really sabotage you and make you think that you were going to be appearing at a Chewbacca Appreciation Society event, or were you in on the gag?
I had a rough idea.
Yeah.
But having been around for a long time, those sort of guys, you sort of know whether there's something up. And having done other interviews about various members of our little family, I was not surprised by anything that he was going to do.
So you heard something through the Star Wars actors' grapevine that Justin was doing this.
Yeah.
Be prepared.
Be prepared. Walk into a room and know roughly what you're going to do about it.
Unfortunately, that show wasn't broadcast in the States, but you can see it on YouTube.
Yeah, I know. That's what we actually saw it on. I've never seen it on TV itself.
Right, of course, because you don't live in the UK anymore.
No.
You're in Texas now.
I'm a Texan now.
You're 100% Texan and an official American citizen?
Yes.
Do you make it back to the UK very often?
Yeah, we were there a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
We do maybe 2 of the big shows over there, and go back, see family and everything else. So not very often, but we do at least try and get over maybe twice a year.
Have you made it back to Kashyyyk anytime recently?
Not recently. No. I'm just waiting for the leaves to clear before we can get the Falcon.
I understand that. Yeah, in the autumn it can be really rough.
Autumn it will be far better because the leaves will be on the ground. They won't be in the Falcon's engines.
Back to the Justin Lee Collins thing, I got to tell you, the part that made me laugh the hardest was at the very end when they had the party, and you couldn't be there, but they had a hologram of you flipping the bird.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Parts of that interview were entertaining. Parts of it were, let's put it this way, I wouldn't have had the nerve to ask the questions that he was asking.
He does go for the tough ones.
Is it true that C-3PO and R2-D2, out of character, when they're just Anthony Daniels and Kenny Baker, cannot stand each other?
Yes.
Is that true?
That is true.
Oh, I love it.
They hate each other.
Very interesting in that show were the revelations that Kenny Baker and Anthony Daniels don't get along too well.
True.
Which is odd to think of
Which is
R2
weird.
and 3PO. Yeah.
It's one of those crazy things that could have made it so much more interesting. You know, why they didn't get along, I shall never know. And I don't particularly want to.
Right.
You know, Kenny's a good guy. I've known him for a long, long time, and he's one of those guys that is got more credits than most actors have. You know, he's there, he's a good guy, and he does it.
That's it. And do you have any beefs with Anthony or anyone else?
No. I treat everybody the way I would like to be treated.
Yeah, that's it.
And that way, if you have problems, it's time for you to go and sort them out.
I've never asked you what your personal favorite Chewbacca scene is from the Star Wars trilogy.
It's probably the chess game.
The chess game.
Chess game in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Because chessboard was on the table, and we were told to play chess, and that's it. So
when Han made the line, Wookiees will pull your arms out of their sockets if they lose.
Yeah.
Chewie leans back, puts his hands behind his head. Now, was that an on-set ad-lib, or was that in the script?
Most of it was ad-lib.
Yeah.
You know, I thought, well, having heard that, I figured I might as well do something. And that was the most defiant sort of thing
that was great.
He could do.
That was great.
Rather than the alternative was to put a big furry arm straight across the chessboard, but it wouldn't have worked out.
Oh, like what? Like he's wiping the pieces off the board?
Like he's wiping the pieces off. I've lost, okay. If you don't believe me, just watch.
Yeah. Now, here's why that scene is so great. As far as establishing the character of Chewbacca, people can easily assume that Chewbacca is primitive and not exactly smart, but that scene right there showed that he's smart enough to play chess against robots.
Yeah.
He's cool enough to lean back and believe in his own status and his own strength by putting his arms behind his head.
Yeah.
So he's cool, he's intelligent, and Han verbally lets you know that he'll rip your arms out of the socket, so he's tough on top of that.
Yeah. And not only that, but he can also maintain the Falcon and do things that other people probably can't do.
Right. Yeah, he can fly a spaceship, too.
Exactly.
Speaking of ad-libs, the scene with the mouse droid in the Death Star corridor. Now, that was another on-set ad-lib. That wasn't in the script, right?
Well, it was in script, but it was all depending on how it was taken. It could have been done one of two or three ways. We did it, the surprise on both faces. It was done, bang, 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 move on to the next one. It was as easy as that.
Yeah.
So,
but it's another one of those scenes that shows Chewie's sense of humor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Where he sort of gives the shoulder shrug to Han.
Yeah.
Really establishing a lot of the character and a lot of the camaraderie between Han and Chewie is seen there, too.
That's true, yes.
It's almost like, hey, I did it again.
Yeah, here we go.
And then let's go to Empire and Norway. You were out there on the ice glacier. Tell us what that was like.
Cold.
Yeah.
Very, very cold. We had enough equipment to float a small army. You know, we had about 3 or 4 of the big articulated snowmobiles, because when you think about it, you need everything doubled just in case one thing goes wrong. And you're not going to be able to go down to your local store and get it.
There's no local store.
No local store. Nothing within 20, 30 miles.
Right.
So it's a question of having it there. It's a army-type operation, and you need the locals up there especially to know where the ice caverns are and things to make sure that you're getting around easily and comfortably.
Yeah. It was, I mean, obviously we've heard all these stories.
It was cold.
Very
cold.
It really
was cold.
Yeah.
Now,
were the cameras breaking and stuff because it was so cold?
Cameras were freezing.
Yeah.
Literally. And some of the shots that Mark did in the Tauntaun were literally out the door of the hotel.
Yeah, right.
There's the door. The Tauntaun was over, it's a distance of about 6 or 8 feet. Because the cameras were getting condensation and water, it took a lot of organising to get things done.
And I bet everyone was jealous of you because of your wardrobe, the Chewie.
I had a wonderful wardrobe.
That's the one time I bet you were very thankful.
I was thankful that I could get a wardrobe that looked good and was practical at the same time.
What was that, yak hair?
It was mohair.
Oh, okay.
With another hair through that.
So you're out there, you're warm and toasty, and everyone's freezing to death.
Mark and Harrison were freezing their nuts off. It was crazy, but someone had to do it.
And what are your thoughts on Irving Kershner?
A good director. I like him a lot.
Yeah. Nice guy.
Very nice.
Nice guy.
Yeah. Knew what he was doing, knew how to do it. So.
Well, it sure seemed like he did a great job directing that scene in the carbon freezing chamber where Chewie just loses it. We finally see Chewbacca lose it
on the top of the carbon freezer.
And was that actually you throwing the stormtroopers, or?
Yep.
And was that done with wires, or
no?
You actually picked them up and threw them?
Those guys are professional.
Yeah.
I knew both of them, and it was just a question. Right, this is a camera angle. We've got boxes and mattresses downstairs, off the top, bang onto the mattress.
Yeah.
Done. Out of camera range. Done. And we only did that a couple of times.
Right.
And it was ready. We did it, and it was time to go.
Now, Chewie wasn't involved in many stunts or anything like that, really. No,
not really.
He just kind of hung out, and he was, he had everyone's back.
Yeah, he knew where his place was, and he knew what to do.
And shooting out in Yuma for Return of the Jedi.
Hot.
Yeah, now we're going to the other extreme. Now you're jealous of everyone else. You're probably jealous of Carrie Fisher's wardrobe a little bit.
Because there is a wind that blows across the desert.
Okay.
You turn sideways, and it keeps you cool.
And, of course, you guys shot that infamous sandstorm scene, which still hasn't seen the light of day.
It's around somewhere, and I don't know where it is.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, that was the first shot for Jedi that you guys actually did.
I can't remember.
I think it was.
I can't remember. It's one of those crazy things. You're told to go here, told to go there, told to do this.
So what's next? Have you heard any rumors about the live-action series?
Not really. With the animated series running at the moment.
Well, yeah, we have the Clone Wars running, but there is a live-action series.
There's a live-action, but nobody has said anything about it.
I think we'd be primed for a Chewie cameo at some point during that TV series. You never know. You never know. Yoda says always in motion, the future is.
Yep.
Just to wrap up, I want to let you know that my favorite Chewbacca appearance outside the films was The Muppet Show.
Yeah, that was
and that was you, right? That was you. What was it like to work with Jim Henson?
Absolutely wonderful. Yeah. Both he and Frank Oz are wonderful guys. And we just had a ton of fun, and it was great fun.
That scene was notable because Chewbacca is not wearing his bandolier, his ammunition strap.
He took it off.
Yeah. Help with those dancing moves a little bit,
exactly.
Make you a little lighter on your feet.
Yeah.
Peter Mayhew, always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for taking the time out to talk to us, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon.
Yep. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Your source for the Force.
All right, we're here with Peter Mayhew at Chicago Comic-Con. How's it going, Peter?
Absolutely wonderful. We arrived here and came over, set up, and it's been like Grand Central Station all the time. It's
all the time
wonderful. It's wonderful.
All the time with you.
Yep.
It hasn't been that long since you were last in Chicago, but yet you still generate the lines, the interest.
Exactly.
The fans always want to come over and meet Chewbacca.
And they always want to know what you're doing and where you're doing it.
So what are you doing?
Sitting here talking to you. But, we've got a full schedule of stuff going on, and it's been a wonderful year of traveling around, doing conventions, talking to people, and having fun.
Since we last talked, you celebrated the 30th anniversary of Empire Strikes Back in L.A. last year.
That's right. Yeah, we got an invitation because Harrison was doing a screening for his wife's charity. We got invited out there and had a great time, and it's the first time I've seen Harrison for a fair length of time, and it was just like old.
It was just like old times.
It was great fun, and Harrison, one of his quotes was, "I haven't seen Empire since we finished it."
Yeah.
He was there, and he was totally engrossed in it, what was going on. He did a Q&A afterwards and said some very complimentary things. He's such an enjoyable actor and a great person to work with.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, you guys, we've talked about the chemistry between you two.
Yeah, it's there, and it's still there.
Yeah. That's great. And when you think back to Empire Strikes Back, is there a certain scene or day of shooting that really stands out in your memory all these years later?
Yeah, probably up in Norway, where we're outside and we've got the droid.
Yes.
And Chewie comes up and goes at it, and it sort of disappears. I think Anne got a lucky shot on it.
Yeah.
And not only that, but trying to survive in minus 20 or 25 conditions was hard work,
Yes.
but it worked out very, very nicely, and you had to have something like that to make the movie the success that it was.
And of course, in the last year, we lost Kirsch.
Yes, unfortunately, I'd seen him a few months before, and he was not well. So, yeah, sadly, with Richard Marquand's death pretty early on.
Yes.
Now George is the sole director that is left.
That's right.
And thank goodness he is still around.
Right.
Because he's done the Clone Wars, the cartoon series, which I got included on.
That's right.
And we did the voice of Chewie. So now Chewie is almost completely mine.
Absolutely.
Which is wonderful. You can look there and go, yes, I created that.
Yeah, I really like how they took all of your physicality into account when they were animating Chewie.
Yes, we spent at least a week up at Skywalker Ranch just so that the artists could see how Chewie worked. And we saw the finished product, and I was very, very pleased with it.
Definitely.
And we even got one of the moquettes that they used. They made one, decorated it, and presented it to me. So it's in the Chewie Museum at home.
Oh, okay, so tell me about the Chewie Museum.
It covers literally beginning of Star Wars. All the memorabilia is there, all the commercial stuff is there, as well as stuff that the fans have done.
Sure.
And it's now got its own room in the house. It's just nice to wander in there every now and again.
Right.
And see what you've done and what was good and what was bad.
Oh, well, I don't think there's too much that's bad in there.
No, I was just thinking that. There's nothing bad there. It's just absolutely wonderful, and it's all there, and it's all in cases.
Might be cool if you took some photos of that and put it up on your website or on the Facebook.
Certain things on websites are fine. That is so, to me, it's so valuable and so personal. I don't want. We may do it, but I don't want to do it at the moment because of you never know what's going to happen.
Just keep it private for now.
Keep it private for me, and add things to it and just go on and enjoy it while we can.
Now, of course, next month we'll be seeing the release of Star Wars on Blu-ray.
That's correct.
And one of the scenes that they've revealed, a deleted scene that's going to be on the Blu-ray, is the sandstorm scene from Return of the Jedi.
Good God.
Do you have any memories of shooting that?
Yes.
And
we were in, I forget where it was, in the studio. There was a part of a ship. All we could see was 2 airplane engines on mounts. And a big pile of sand. So we decided, okay, the scene was explained to us, and there are pictures which hopefully have come out of everybody in goggles, scarves, hats, to stop the sand being blown into their faces.
Right.
So you can imagine me with the mask on. It fits pretty tightly, but when I took it off one time, there was a whole load of almost like silky sand in there. So it tied in with why Chewie had a bandage on his leg. It was where the shekels, when he was in the battle and he had been shackled and he had broken loose.
Yes.
To get and it was just one of a pair of shackles.
Do you recall any other scenes that you shot that were cut out of the film?
That, I think, was probably about the only one, but it will be interesting to see what they come up with, because there's so much stuff that you shoot over and over again, and you never know what they are going to use and what's not going to use. So it'll be interesting to see if they claim that they've got 40 hours of extra stuff. It'll be interesting to see what they're actually going to show us.
Yeah, and it might have some memories flooding back for you when you'll see it and say, oh my God, I forgot all about that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's always nice to be able to sit down and say, yeah, I was there, but that's not what I remember. But usually they get it pretty accurate.
Yes.
And it'll be nice to see some of the crew, some of the camera crews that were around on certain things, and also see some of the second unit directors and stuff, people like Harley Cockless and various other guys who were around, and see if they're still alive, see if they got credited.
Yeah. Hey, one of your co-stars is still up and kicking. His name's Dave Prowse, and of course, he's gone on record several times as saying he was offered either the role of Chewie or Darth Vader, and he decided to go with Darth Vader. Have you ever thought about what it would have been like for you if Dave decided to be Chewie and you ended up being Darth Vader?
I think it would be definitely a different character.
Yes.
Because of the stance and everything else that was going on. But fortunately, he went through his mind that he didn't want to be a masked character, and look what happened.
Yeah.
Vader was completely put out of it, and I would have done it, but as I say, it would have been a completely different Vader, because the stance is different, the body language would be different, and that would have been interesting to see what he could have done with Chewie.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that we will never know.
No.
And as I say, it's totally different. And everything is in history now. And get on and do it.
It just all worked out so perfectly.
Oh, yes. It was wonderful. It couldn't have worked out better. And also, the fans realized what the characters were, and they put their loyalties behind people that they wanted available.
This is true. A guy who had problems with loyalties was Lando Calrissian. He had some big problems with loyalties.
He certainly did. Yep.
And I spoke to Billy D earlier this week, and I asked him, what is your most memorable day of shooting on Empire? What was your most memorable day? And he said, when Chewbacca choked me.
That's right. That was going through my mind at the same time, because we started. We were rehearsing it, and Billy's standing there, and he said, "All I want you to do is put your hands there and there on both sides,
on the shoulders,
and I will do the rest."
Okay.
So, fair enough. We start, and all of a sudden, Billy's pulling these funny, hilarious faces.
Yes.
And I'm just going, what the is going on? It worked out there again. It worked out fine, and we got on it. That was something that probably, for a long, long time, nobody realized that he was in command, in control. I was just doing what he wanted to do.
Well, he's a good actor, Billy.
He's a good actor. He's a nice guy, too.
I asked him if maybe you gave a little extra grip there to sort of help him with his acting performance, but he said he had a very gentle touch.
Well, I was brought up being big.
Yeah.
Therefore, you have a gentle touch, because the way I was brought up, you take a pair of hands like that, you can hurt people.
Yeah.
So
see, how big is your hand? I'm holding up hands. Oh wow! I am I'm holding my hand up to Chewie's right now. You don't mind if I call you Chewie, right?
No.
And you are clearly about your middle finger is at least an inch longer than mine, possibly more. And I don't have little hands.
True. So as I say, I was brought up to be careful of other children when you're growing up. You have strength.
Right.
And I was always brought up, be careful because you might hurt someone.
You don't know your own strength sometimes.
Not sometimes you don't. But the situation, this one, I knew what I had to do, and I did it. My hands were almost totally relaxed when we finally got through. So as I say, it was done, and I'm glad he remembered it.
Yes, he did. He said it was one of his favorite memories, as a matter of fact.
That was an interesting set, the Cloud City set.
Now, your ability to show that kind of restraint and the gentle touch is why the name of your new book is called My Favorite Giant.
Yeah. Yes.
Because, I mean, how tall are you, Peter?
7'2".
7'2".
Yeah.
And you have this great new book here. Oh, thank you, Angie. Angie Mayhew's passing it over to us.
My Favorite
Giant. Written by Peter and Angie Mayhew.
Which shows...
We're flipping through the book right now. This is the first time I'm seeing the book. I've seen some glimpses of it online.
And there's little Kenny Baker.
Oh, there's Kenny Baker.
Yep.
That's a great
Kenny
great
Baker,
picture of him.
and another one there. And it shows everything. It shows the differences.
Oh, this is a really cute book.
It's a wonderful book, and it's available on my website and usually at any conventions that we go to.
And what's the main message of the book?
Tolerance. No two people are the same. Therefore, they each have different demands for what they can do and what they can't do. All of us have problems with size. Sometimes you're too short and sometimes you're too long. But there it is. And the good illustrations are by our good friend Terry Norton, who used to work for Disney. And he came along and said, yes, I can do things with this. And there it is.
Well, this is a fabulous-looking book, and it's a great book for kids. It features you talking to Katie Johnson, who, of course, is the...
She's the R2KT. They made the droid out.
That's right. That's right. She's Albin Johnson's daughter.
One of his daughters.
And unfortunately, she was sick and passed away, and so you've dedicated this book to her.
There's the hand. That's the family.
Well, that is wonderful. So absolutely wonderful.
It's great. It really is.
It's great. So if you have kids, even if you don't have kids, it's a fantastic book with wonderful art, written by Peter and Angie Mayhew, illustrated by Terry Naughton. Great artist. Great. I mean, what a fantastic book. I hope you sell tons of copies. You're doing an actual book reading here at Wizard World on Sunday?
On Sunday afternoon,
Okay.
So
Well, I'll come back with my kids, and we'll be sure to come visit you there.
Yep.
And one last question I have, and we were talking about this. There's an outtake of the classic scene in A New Hope when you're in the control room with the droids and Han and Luke, and you're about ready to go rescue the princess. Mm-hmm. And at the part where Harrison leans up against you, you speak English with the Chewie mask on, and you talk about Obi-Wan. You say, "That old man's mad."
That's right.
And Harrison responds with the dialogue that was written. Were you often speaking in English, or were you growling a lot?
I was growling a lot because what I had been told was that they were going to put the growls in afterwards.
Yes.
The reason for that quote was someone had to start the scene off.
Oh, okay.
George shouted action. I, instead of making a growling noise, I slipped up and said, "The old man's mad," because it followed from the previous scene that we had just done, where he disappears into the power unit to blow the switches so that we could get out. And that's how that came about.
Okay, but so most of the time it was growling.
It was growling, and it was timed with the other people's last words. It was one of those things. A lot of it was done on impulse. If it didn't work, it didn't work. So we do it again.
Maybe more great outtakes like that will appear on the Blu-ray.
Hopefully, yes.
We'll be hearing you speak for Chewie
because
maybe a little more.
Because I know there are a lot out there.
Yeah.
When you think about the amount of footage that they had, and I saw it. There were cans of film all over the place. So there must be a hell of a lot of other stuff out there.
Yeah, and hopefully the best of the best will end up on the
hopefully.
Blu-ray. Well, Peter, you have your fans waiting to see. I feel guilty. I've taken up so much of your time, but you are as generous as always. Listeners love it when you come on the show, and we're looking forward to seeing you in Dallas in October for Fan Days.
Yep. And not only that, but we'll be looking forward to Celebration.
Yes, absolutely. Celebration 6 already we're at.
Yep.
That's happening next year in Orlando. So plan ahead. And if you can't meet Peter at Wizard World or Fan Days, you'll be able to see him at Star Wars Celebration 6.
Correct.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, Peter. My Favorite Giant.
No problem.
It's available now. You can get it at petermayhew.com. Take care, Peter.
Bye-bye.
That old man's mad.
You said it, Chewie. Boy, where did you dig up that old fossil?